So hey guys, I am making this video for my son. I actually was already in the preparation of making chicken tetrazzini, and my son wanted the recipe and I didn't feel like writing the recipe, and since I'm already prepping it for myself anyway, I decided to just go ahead and video me doing this recipe. It's pretty simple. I buy boneless, skinless chicken breast in bulk, so I buy it, I pound it so that it's all flat and even, so it cooks evenly, and it also breaks up the fiber of the chicken. So I marinate it for like 2 days, usually in like a garlic herb marinade, and it absorbs the flavor. The fibers of the meat are open, so it absorbs more of the flavor, and I bake that in the oven until it's done, not overdone, because of course you don't want the outside of the chicken breast to be tough, but you know, in a covered dish with aluminum foil over it, if you don't have like a Dutch oven or something to cook the chicken in. I do season it a little bit, even though it's marinated, usually with like some type of chicken seasoning, like kicking chicken, if I wanted a little kick, you know, like a little spiciness to it. But so that my chicken actually has flavor, I went ahead and used, maybe, I think it was like, they were pretty big chicken breasts, so I used like 5, and I diced and shredded it because I wanted it kind of small so that it can distribute through the casserole pretty good, so you can have chicken in every bite. I went ahead and also boiled my spaghetti already. Now I use regular spaghetti because I noticed when you use a thinner noodle, because of the rest of the ingredients, once you put it in, the texture, the noodle tends to get kind of lost in the rest of the ingredients. So I would suggest that if you decide that you don't want to use spaghetti, that you use a noodle that's at least the size of spaghetti or thicker, like fettuccine or linguine, or if that's what you want to go with, instead of using like angel hair or thin spaghetti. I also have already cubed a block of Velveeta cheese. Actually, I've diced it. I want it to be pretty small so it'll not take as long to melt the cheese down. And I like to use also shredded cheeses. So I love Kobe Jack, so I have shredded Kobe Jack, and I also have some Italian 5 cheese that has it has mozzarella, provolone, parmesan, Asiago, and Romano cheese in it. I also have a can of cream of mushroom, a can of cream of chicken, and 2 cans of tomatoes with green chilies. It doesn't have to be the Rotel brand, I just happen to have that brand. Don't drain them. I already have them open and undrained because it will help with the liquid. I have a 32-ounce package of chicken broth. I'm using unsalted because I had already pre-seasoned the chicken, like I said, and a lot of cheese, believe it or not, has salt added to it, and it's always easier just to add salt. It's always easier to add than to take away. I love adobo, so I'm using adobo with pepper. I love this. So I, in times past, would use fresh onion and fresh bell pepper, but because it's just me now in the house, I don't use onions and bell pepper as quickly, and they tend to go bad. And even when I try to like prep and freeze them, sometimes they get freezer burnt, and you know, I just don't use it fast enough. So this is wonderful. It's Zatarain's dehydrated sweet bell pepper. It's the green and red peppers. But when you add it to whatever you're cooking, you know, they rehydrate, and it tastes just like, you know, regular bell peppers with that flavor. And then I also use Italian spaghetti seasoning by Tones. I usually get this at Sam's. I'm at the end of this container. It has dehydrated diced chopped onion in it, and as you can see, because I'm at the end of the container, you know, like how big stuff tends to go to the top. Well, that's why I have so much onion left in this So I'm not going to use the dehydrated diced onion that I usually use as well, because I have so much onion in there. And then also I'm going to use Lawry's seasoned salt. Now you can use Seasonal by McCormick, or you can use, I can never say this name right, Tony Chachere's. I don't know. But I didn't, Tony's tends to be a little spicy, and I don't want spicy. But you can add spicy if you like spice. Hey, by all means. The original Rotel adds enough of a kick to it for me. And like I said, I had already sprinkled a little kickin' chicken seasoning over my chicken breast before I baked it. So it's gonna be pretty seasoned. My spaghetti noodles are still kind of warm. I did like cool, give them an ice bath. Well, somewhat of the ice bath, so they just wouldn't be hot. Because I knew it was going to take me a minute to get myself together to do this, and then I didn't want the noodles to stick. So I got a 40-cup Tupperware container. Why am I having such a hard time talking today? But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get all the ingredients blended in. Like I said, I love a lot of chicken, so I have all the chicken. I am going ahead and adding all of the ingredients. My cream of mushroom and cream of chicken. And I have to be mindful because my neighbors they have supersonic hearing, and I don't want to disturb them today because they tend to hear beat on the ceiling when I make too much noise. Anyway, chicken. There's some chicken in there. Get every ounce of that out. Okay. Alright, I'm going to add our Rotel tomatoes. And you guys, I kind of have a pet peeve. I normally prep my tomatoes. I didn't do it this time because I was kind of lazy. But I said once I poured it in, I would just kind of look through. But you know, I don't like the skins of the tomatoes to be in there. And sometimes, depending on the batch you get, it'll be a lot. And so I'm just kind of going through it to see if there is any. These cans actually look like they're pretty good cans where it didn't have a lot in there. So okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and add in Velveeta. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and kind of just distribute it. Now, normally, my hands are clean. I am going to use my hands at some point. I am going to use my hands at some point. Yeah, I figured that would. Once I started doing that, it would. I would be able to see more of the tomato skins. I do this even when I'm making Rotel, like I'll prep my tomatoes. But sometimes too, I notice like they'll have the ends of the tomatoes in there, and it's like a harder piece, like the core of the tomato. And I like my food to have good bite, It's just an extra pet peeve of mine, you know. But anyway, mixing all of that, and man, that chicken smells so good already. Just mix it through. All right. For a second. Okay. Go ahead and now. My son is always like, Mom, how much you use of this? Because he wants a measurement of stuff. But as an African American woman that has learned how to cook, you know, what you do is you just sprinkle until the ancestors say, child, that's good. You know what I'm saying? And you can never really put too many herbs and spices, but yeah. So usually, because I'm using a container, I try to just cover the entire surface of what I'm cooking, and then I like to see my seasoning in there. So baby, just cup your hand and just, you know, just a little bit more maybe. Adobo, same thing. Just sprinkle over the top, back and forth. And now this is salty, so we're not going to do a lot. We're just going to do a couple of shakes over. Alright, and we're going to add now the chicken broth. Now you're not going to necessarily use this whole container of chicken broth. It just depends on how juicy or how much juice you had in your rotel tomatoes. But sometimes it's, you know, some stuff be juicy. Sometimes it's juicier than others, and so yeah. And you just mix it all together. Mix it, mix it, mix it. And right now it doesn't look as cheesy because the cheese hasn't melted. And I usually make this when it's hot. What I'm gonna do is pop it in the microwave for just a second, just so, like a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3. But like I said, the spaghetti noodles were still kind of warm, but not really warm. So make the cheese melt necessarily. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my cheeses as well. Because I was gonna have it blend together. So usually with, you know, handful. Actually, for this, I'm gonna go ahead and, because I want to say this may have been 2 cups or a cup and a half. It may have been a cup and a half. Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and use some of my Kobe. And I'm just gonna use a handful of that because I like to put some on top when I get ready to bake it. So now I'm gonna go in with my hands and just make sure it's all distributed. And then I can kind of also, because I'm using my hands, some of those bigger chunks of Velveeta, I can go ahead and smash them and kind of smooth them through. Yeah. So. Yeah. Awesome. You guys, it smells so good already. It smells so amazing. mix it, mix it, mix it, mix it, mix it. I was hoping I wouldn't make a mess. Yeah, so go over to my sink and wash my hands. I definitely need to add some more chicken broth. First, I'm gonna have to wash my hands. Well, actually, no, actually, I can go ahead and add all of that. There's not that much left. I can actually add all of that. That'll be fine. Yeah. All right. Yep. And so it's going to be soupy, but that's okay because, like I said, your cheese has to melt, and then the creams of the cream soups, cream of mushroom and of chicken, they're gonna thicken some, and it's gonna end up having a very nice texture. But you just want to make sure that you incorporate it good, so that all of the good stuff doesn't just be on the bottom and all the noodles at the top. So let me go ahead and wash my hands. Right. A mess here. Okay, so what did I do with my spoon? I left it over there. So normally I would, like I said, everything would be hot already, because I would have boiled the spaghetti noodles, and right after they came out of the pots, they would still be hot, and so that would help a lot of the stuff to go ahead and melt together. You have the Velveeta melting, and all the rest of the cheeses melting. And like I said, you just want to make sure that it all incorporates pretty good. I mean, you're still gonna have some chunks of Velveeta, but I mean, they'll melt and incorporate in your casserole as it cooks. And so that is how I make my chicken tetrazzini. I pour this then into a casserole dish and put it in the oven at preheated oven, 350 degrees. I let it cook for about 30 to 45 minutes. It just depends on how much I have in a dish. If you are using like a 13 by my brain, it's not working today. If you're using a rectangular dish, which is what I usually use, I probably would cook it for like 45 minutes on at 30 degrees covered, and then it's done. And then it's done. Well, let me know, guys, how it turns out for you, and I'll see you on the next recipe.